martial law. So I think, in 2008, I kept alerting people to the fact that I didn't think when and if that happened, it would look like that. It wouldn't be that dramatic goose stepping into the central square and taking over of, the national radio station. It doesn't have to anymore. It would be much more sophisticated. What I predicted at the end of America is that if we got to stage 10, it would look like America. We'd still have soap operas and shopping malls and, the 4th of July. What we wouldn't have would be freedom. And that it was really important for people to understand that because they have this idea that a police state looks like people being herded into cattle cars. It doesn't look like that. If you look at police states all over Latin America throughout history, they have pop stars, they have journalism, they have judiciaries, they have elections, right? These entities just don't have any real power. Well, the pop stars do. But, people have fun in police states. They go roller skating, they go snowboarding, whatever. They just are not allowed to put their hands on the press, the electoral system, to have any real say in what happens. And if they do, these terrible things happen to them in the margins. And the margins get bigger and bigger, and the space people have gets smaller and smaller. So that's where we are now, but it hasn't happened with, in 2008, people were worried, and I was worried, that there would be a declaration of a state of emergency and that the military would be deployed throughout the country. That didn't happen, obviously, but that's because it didn't need to. I now believe that our oligarchs in the United States, and I can tell you in the Q&A who they are, have realized that these dramatic gestures are counterproductive and now unnecessary. I hate to say this. The Constitution has been suspended in effect. And our system of checks and balances is no longer dispositive. The president, the executive, and the judiciary no longer run the country. The coup has taken place. It is just very legal, very behind the scenes, and very quiet. TIPP is a good example, a multinational agreement that transcends any nation state and its Congress or Parliament. This is the new model of what we're going to see in the future. We're going to see more and more. This happens like with the Olympics. The Olympics will move into a country and make a deal with that nation state to suspend or change the laws to accommodate the Olympics. And we're going to see, like, that's the new normal, right? Basically, what I want you to understand is that the entities, which are massive corporate entities in alliance with kind of oligarchs who nominally hold positions in government, are a global force now. They're quite well organized. They've figured out the program, and that Western democracies are an annoyance and a hindrance to them, okay? Because Western democracies have parliaments and congresses that pass laws that restrain their actions. So in the future, these entities would like the whole world to look like China. China is a fantastic basis for corporate expansion because there's all kinds of labor, there's all kinds of resources, and no one has any rights. Okay? So that's why you're seeing these same kinds of laws in Australia, in Great Britain, in Canada, in the United States, all over the world. You've got to stop thinking that the nation states and the people who run nation states are the most important people in the world. They're not anymore. They're very subordinated to these entities over their heads. And so what's happening is these entities are simply legislating or making deals around them, right? Like the deal that got illuminated almost indirectly in this biography of Hillary Clinton, where the telecoms work informally, unaccountably with government, okay? Because why have the people involved? They just complicate things. So that's where we are. I used to think that what was driving this suppression of civil liberties was one sector, which was the military-industrial complex, and they wanted to hype the terror threat to, just grow global war and, grow their profits forever. But I now think that that's a very small part of the puzzle, and that basically these gigantic multinationals, which are global, have figured out the atmosphere, the environment globally that is most beneficial to unfettered profit and suctioning of resources from ordinary people and into their pockets and bottom line. And that, this is why it doesn't really matter who's president in the United States right now, because there are like 6 of these entities in the US, big pharma, big insurance, big oil, big war, who just switch back and forth their candidates. And so they're really trying to distract us by saying, oh, it's a big fight between Republicans and Democrats, or it's a big difference between libertarians and environmentalists. That's a distraction, that's a show. And this is what's really happening. And so don't get mad at any one American president, because the American president just doesn't have that much power anymore. It's really almost a figurehead. These entities are there and they're in charge. So now that I've completely made you sad, I want to bring you to the next stage of consciousness, if I can, and collective action. This is very tough shit to fight, right? It's very sophisticated. It is way beyond, is 6 levels beyond what I thought we were up against, okay? And they have an extraordinary infrastructure in place. I'd like you to notice that when there were news stories about surveillance in the United States, there were also news stories about surveillance in Germany, surveillance in France, surveillance in Australia, surveillance in New Zealand. This was the new normal. So, Edward Snowden may be our guy, but the telecoms are global. And entities like, these transnational entities like the EU, right, are global, are a small group of actors now able to operate above nation states with no regard for nation states, right? I know you guys hate the state, but at this point we actually kind of need the state to fight. We should be the state. We need to be the state to fight against these people.
No one needs to be the state.
Okay, we need some organization to fight these entities at this level, and at this level, the law is like our last defense till we figure out another way of operating. The law and strengthening the law, and what I mean by that is strengthening. So now that you know what's really going on, okay, just take a deep breath. It's super fucking huge. It's extremely terrifying. It's not the Illuminati, it's not a cabal of whatever. It's just business in a way that makes it more scary and less scary, right? But it's just business who would profit from stripping every single one of us of our rights. Okay? So I'll wrap up by saying that given that this is the new picture, this is the new war, what's hopeful about this? Okay, we have to really evolve very quickly as human beings to see what's hopeful and to work effectively now. Because what it's going to take to fight this is for us to forget once and for all Sunni, Shia, Republican, Democrat, feminist, anti-feminist, North, South, Christian, Jew. We've got to evolve past that like yesterday, right? And recognize that we are a human family with a big fight on our hands, but the fight is not where they want us to direct our attention. The fight is not our neighbor who doesn't share our religion or our point of view. The fight is, most people on the planet want to live decent, peaceful lives. That's what they want. And with the internet, they're able to encounter each other in new ways and learn this. They can't be manipulated as easily by people who want them at each other's throats, right? And they're the family. That's us now, right? That's us. That's our us. And that's what we have to build, because the fight now is how to organize and create new institutions, new laws, new strategies, new efforts to stop this thing. that wants to break us apart so it can subdue us. And there are ways to do it, like this movement can do it. Repealing the Patriot Act could do it. Stopping surveillance could do it. Supporting her and the ACLU and the Center for Constitutional Rights and Thomas Drake and Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, could do it. This fight to keep the militarization out of your police forces, this is exactly like what we're struggling for and groping for with inadequate information, inadequate resources. We have to finish the analysis and make it grow around the nation and around the world, because this is what we're up against, right? And when you get it, you know what to do. You know what laws to pass. You know how to organize. You know how to not be distracted, right? And the creativity, I sometimes feel so overwhelmed, but I also think there have been very dark times in human history before. And when people actually see the pieces, they find resilience. And there's so much intelligence in this room. And, all the 1.1 million people downloaded the first End of America talk that I gave. So this is the second one. So if just 1.1 million people do it again, that's 1 in 300 people in the United States. And those people can talk to their friends and talk to their friends and put together the solutions for the future. Fearless and new, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's new encryption or whether it's, new awareness of how to look at guns maybe, or how to look at terrorism, or how to look at those bad Muslims who are really our brothers and sisters, or how to look at our neighbor across the way that we think we have nothing in common with, who's our ally and our best friend, or the person around the globe who we think is our enemy, who's really our heart's comrade in this fight for freedom. So this is a fight before us. God bless you. I know that with your ingenuity and your creativity and your courage and your faith, I know that we will win. Thank you so much.